name's Nadia Faragaab, and I am from Melbourne. I recently had just finished up my exhibition for 2012, and it was called The G with the J Sound. The G with the J Sound came from my trying to find if there were any Somali words that entered the English dictionary. And then one of the things I found, there was a few words. Some words I think need research, but the words are so far nouns of things that are often found in Somalia only. And so for example, there's an animal called Geranuk in the English language, and it's found only in Somalia or that area of East Africa. But the English language borrowed the name from the Somali language, which was originally Geranuk. It's got a hard G sound, and I looked at how it's changed, why it might have changed from a Geranuk to a Geranuk. Looking at I suppose the evolution of this one noun from the Somali language to the English language, and how it went from sounding one way to sounding another, what might have contributed to it, and so forth. I suppose for me, as an artist and as someone who's interested in language and I suppose history and the evolution of not necessarily our biological history as humans, but culturally, how things have evolved and how humans borrow and continue to borrow from one another. I longed to find something that contributed words or language, words that came from this language that my parents spoke and that I striving to use all the time and hopefully teach to my offsprings and so forth, to this language that I now speak fluently and I think in and that I read in and I've studied in, and the English language. So and making that connection and yeah, it's been an interesting journey. At this point in my existence, I'm observing a lot of, I suppose, changes culturally, linguistically, amongst my Somali Australian community, and the changes are very rapid. It could be obvious things like the fact that a lot of young men and women don't speak Somali, or just sort of their thinking about things change, and they're not always a bad thing. I'm interested in the documentation of that, and the bleaching for me was a little bit of a like a symbolic of the change, and it's a very obvious one. But it's also a little bit worrying for me because a lot of the mostly women who bleach their skin have kind of a selective amnesia about their skin color, and to me that little bit is similar to about their identity in general. And so I thought that would be a really interesting sort of analogy, that I could use visually. I did. Some of my work was a little bit about perspective as well, and just like any other artist, I always see more in my work as time goes by as well. You can still have a gambar from in Melbourne, made in Melbourne. So I had a gambar, which is a stool that's traditionally used in Somalia, and people often have it brought to Melbourne and it's really expensive, and they have to put it through quarantine because it's got leather on it, and all this drama for something simple that can be made in Melbourne. And the other one was the gym bar, which is behind me here, which is like a day bed. Everyone thinks it's a table, it's not, but the gym bar, it's a day bed. And so obviously, saying that yes, we can have what we had in Somalia. Yes, it's 2012, and we're in Australia instead, and it's that far away from Melbourne. But we're here, and if you want to hold on to a little bit of things that you feel, whether you realize it or not, that you're missing, that represented your culture as a Somali, these things can be had here in Australia as well. The Rahwen dialect, and I really love it. I used to speak it when I was a child, and I absolutely love it, and I would love to learn, and I listen to a lot of songs in the Rahwen dialect, and I got my mother to tell me a few stories in that dialect, and I recorded it, and yes, for my benefit as well, because I loved hearing these stories. Documentation is really important to me, but also there's a lot of young men and women whose parents speak, this dialect. Both parents, for me, it was just my parent, my mother, and she didn't speak it full time, but I still love it. But there are young women and men who not only they don't speak Somali, but they don't even speak that dialect that they could use as a sort of way of connecting with their parents or grandparents. So I recorded that piece to say, well, actually, it's really important. I'm not just trying to encourage the use of the Somali language amongst Somalis in the diaspora, and the development of the language within Somalia, because obviously there's lots of new concepts and things that need naming, and the vocab needs to grow with that, but also to not abandon the dialects that are within the language, because in a lot of ways the dialect is a lot more Somali. It's less diluted with Arabic and English than the mainstream Somali is. I wanted to work with bronze. I wanted something that was very obviously Somali, so I made the barkin, or the headrest, which is a pillow. And I've never seen anything that was obviously Somali when you looked at it, that was made out of something metal. And I don't know, I had to make it out of bronze. What inspires me to do my work? Well, first of all, I'm an artist. I need to express. I don't write. I'm a visual artist. I don't write, or I don't use spoken word. I don't do poetry. So I have almost this compulsive behavior to make stuff. To say, this is what I meant. This is what I was feeling, and so that's my drive. And then, so that as an artist, and then it's informed by everything that sort of contributed to who I am so far, which is that I'm Somali, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I am Australian, I have certain passions, I have certain preferences, and I like to observe, and I like to then discuss, and this is my outlet, this is my expression, this is the way I do it. So that inspires me, and also what inspires me is that I live in a part of the world in this point in history where I am, as an individual, allowed to express through art, and I always feel blessed. And I could complain about the fact that I'm broke like an artist. I need materials, I need to be paid for my work, but the fact that I can do it inspires me, because I know that I've traveled, and in many parts of the world, not only would I be dismissed, but probably harassed for making the work that I make. So my madax banani, or the freedom that's available to me, also inspires me.